Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Highruler and today's video is talking about some tweets on Twitter and basically just kind of how everything is framed in a very disingenuous way. I've kind of been reinvigorated now to talk about some Marvel stuff, so I'm going to start, dipping my toes back into talking about Marvel games. Maybe we'll start talking about some of the shows, maybe we'll start talking about some comic stuff, but basically we're going to start small and we're going to go on the offensive a little bit against Can We Get Some Toes and their tweet, and a little bit about this tweet from Neb here, kind of painting a picture that is very disingenuous in the way it's kind of framing everything. Now, the idea behind this tweet, if you can't see it, is that it's basically painting a very not so good picture for Marvel games and their recent games, and kind of how everything is trended very downward for Marvel games. And yeah, I can agree with that, but there's reasons for this to kind of go over versus just commercial and financial flops, right? So for example, Midnight Suns and Guardians of the Galaxy were two great games quality-wise that just didn't hit the mark with their target audience, right? So for example, Guardians of the Galaxy had the Avengers reputation, which they were never able to shake because it was published under Square Enix, right? Even though the quality of that game, I would argue at certain points is better than Marvel Spider-Man, not a lot of people went to that game because of the reputation. And that's just unfortunate timing and an unfortunate reality of that situation, right? Versus Midnight Suns, which was a very, what I've heard, because I've not played all of it yet, a quality game. Just the nature of what the game was didn't kind of mesh well with the general audience that they were trying to pull with the Marvel IP. And then you have a game like Marvel's Avengers, which unfortunately just recently became delisted. And the reason for that is they lost the license in the sale to Embracer and it just wasn't renewed, right? Unfortunately, Marvel's Avengers just never was able to get in front of the 8 ball that they started behind. And because of that, the game just could never live up to the potential that me, as well as everyone else who played it, wanted it to. Then you have something like Future Revolution, which was a mobile game. And frankly, I think all mobile games should probably be shut down anyways, because all they're doing is basically siphoning you out of your money. I think any of the mobile games, whether that is Future Revolution, Contest of Champions, Future Fight, they're all just designed to suck the money out of your bank account to make you feel like a pay pig. I could give you about 30 different websites if you wanted to be a pay pig, and most of them will give you more satisfaction than playing a mobile game at this point in time. So when it comes to Future Revolution, or even if Realm of Champions or if Contest or Future Fight shut down, yeah, would it be sad? But I mean, sure, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. Who cares? They're not really games. They're casinos. Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they were delisted because the license was with Activision and they just don't have the license to sell them anymore, right? So I don't necessarily think that these two games should be in this kind of list whatsoever, right? And then you have Marvel Heroes Omega, which unfortunately Marvel Heroes Omega was tied to Gazillion, which was, basically a shit show of a place to work in at the end of the kind of lifespan. I don't think there's anything really to say about Marvel Heroes Omega, unfortunately, that it just seemed like the game just could never get that footing as well, right? It had a great formula, but they kept reinventing the wheel every year with the rebranding. And then finally they went for the Omega push to kind of get the game on consoles. But at that time, Gazillion was basically up in smoke anyways. So there just really wasn't anything there to kind of, steady the ship. So with that being said, there are multiple different reasons for these games not working out well, and that is the nature of game development. The unfortunate thing is that everybody thinks that the Marvel IP is infallible, and what we are seeing is that no, it is not. Not every game or every TV show or every movie or every comic book is going to do well just because it's the Marvel IP on it. There are multiple different reasons why these things work and why these things don't work, right? For better or for worse, Marvel's Avengers lasted as long as it did because they had a very solid player base that really loved the game, right? And that is due in part to the Marvel IP. If you take any other IP and you put it on that base of a game, it probably doesn't do as well, right? So, I mean, that's just to say that, like, sometimes these situations just happen, right? But that's not the point that I'm going to make here with this tweet. This tweet definitely has some interesting situations here, some of which are in control of Marvel, some of which are out of the control of Marvel. And then what we have is this tweet by Can We Get Some Toast, basically painting the obvious and regurgitating stuff they've probably heard elsewhere on the internet, like they do from my understanding. Basically, the idea is that Marvel has been aware of their video games division and how it's not been reaching their potential. And because of that, there has been whispers of an internal shift for Marvel to focus on games. Now, I would argue argue the shift has already started to happen because these games were announced a little while ago, and then it takes some time before that to sign these deals, to work out the ironclad agreements, and to basically get things off the ground, right? But I would also argue that Marvel has done that shift many years ago, right? That's why they signed the deal with Square Enix originally, because they wanted more video games out there. That's why they signed what at their time was their biggest IP with Marvel's Avengers. They wanted an Avengers game out there years ago, and they wanted that success to kind of start to bloom into what they were experiencing at the time with their other division, with their movies division specifically, right? This is not something new. And now I think it's, probably pretty obvious to anybody that after the last couple of years, maybe their division hasn't been living up to the success they wanted it to, many of which for reasons in their control as the IP holder, many of reasons for not in their control due to publisher and developer. But I think at this point in time, painting this tweet as something that is new or it's secret or it's whispers or something that they're hearing about is not the case. I think this is the case that has been happening for years, and I think this will be the case that is going to be continuing for years. And it wouldn't be surprising if we do see another Avengers game in the next 5 to 10 years that is going to be spearheaded potentially by EA, piggybacking off what could be the success of Black Panther and Iron Man games. Now, that's not to say that these games are infallible and that these games will be coming out and they will be, perfect, right? There's a good chance that we could relive history with these games and that something could happen. They could just not be great games, right? I don't like this kind of feeling that these games are going to be the start of something big when we don't even know what these games are really going to look like, play as, or just kind of happen in them, right? These games could not be the greatest things ever, right? In my last video, I just talked about some of the Spider-Man leaks going over the ending and how people are probably going to be pretty upset about that. And that's because these characters hold such value to a lot of different people and their stories. And all it takes is one small change, and basically that whole game could be in the trash before you know it. So I don't want to put any stock on these games being success or the start of something big until they come out and they make millions of dollars for these companies. So then the continued development can happen. Anything can happen in this space, especially when it comes to comic book characters, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I think this tweet right here by Can We Get Some Toast is a bunch of bullshit, and I don't think we should believe them for anything because they just regurgitate things that they've heard elsewhere. They're now tweeting about the Dazzler rumors for Taylor Swift, which have been going on for the last month and a bit, and honestly, that's come from everyone on the internet. So basically, the point of the video is that, yes, this is obvious. The original tweet, while yes, it points to a downward trend with Marvel games, there are certain situations and circumstances that led to that, which doesn't paint the whole picture behind each game and the overall trend. But this tweet right here is like one of the worst things that I've seen. It's just shoddy journalism 101. This is just absolutely shoddy. So that's what I got for you guys today, man. If you guys want more Marvel content, I feel good about talking about it. I hope you guys want more. Like the video, sub to the channel, leave a comment. I'll see you guys next time here. Enjoy the rest of your day and night. Take care yourselves. Later, guys.